So unfortunately, there was a flood in Texas recently, and a lot of people's lives are being affected. I want to go over the latest, share some thoughts, and I want to get yours as well. So this was the headline: Live updates: 51 dead in Texas floods as search for missing grows more dire. At least 15 children were among those killed by flooding in central Texas. I read this, and I had a couple thoughts immediately. One was, hopefully they can find more people. But as they're saying, as the longer this goes on, it doesn't look good for people who are missing. So just hope for the best. It was this kind of flood, this thing here. So basically, water everywhere. There was a massive a bunch of rain, very quickly. And as you guys know, water damage is very, very dangerous. Fox News was trying to portray this as being, no one could have known kind of stuff. And the Trump people are all going to be heroes, and we'll try to do better next time. But in my opinion, these kind of events that happen, something like this, I want to prevent it. I don't want to be, dealing with trying to clean up. I want to deal with let's not have this in the first place. And the first thing that I was thinking of, and you have to bring it up, is the cuts that Trump people are making. This is what I want to directly talk with you about, because it matters. You want to prevent this stuff. You don't want to just be always reacting. So this was back in June 26th. The Trump administration says it wants to eliminate FEMA. Here's what we know. So this would be helping people in emergency disasters. So this would be a direct thing that you would want FEMA to come in and help out people. Or what about prevention? Trump administration wants to axe all of NOAA's climate research, right? Research on the weather and the environment, these sort of things. Or this: hundreds of US weather forecasters fired amid DOGE cuts. You got to bring this stuff up, because I don't want to be dealing again with just reacting to these kind of events. I want to be preventing these sort of tragedies. Listen to someone talking about who used to work with NOAA. How listen what he has to say.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, better known as NOAA, is facing significant budget cuts. A memo obtained by CBS News finds the agency's 2026 budget may be slashed by more than $1.5 billion compared to this year's budget levels. NOAA's research functions would be, according to this memo, the hardest hit. Now, it's important to note that President Trump has not yet approved this budget cut, but the OMB director has, and that makes it very real indeed. Former NOAA Administrator Rick Spinrad joins me now. Rick, thanks for joining us on such short notice. What impact would this have if it were to happen?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Major, and thanks for paying attention to this important story. The impact would be across the nation, across sectors. It would affect just about every American, almost every industry, and every community. These misguided cuts are really basically saying, especially when you cut research out of the formula, that what we've got right now in terms of our ability to predict these devastating weather events, climate change impacts, that's good enough. We don't need to make any improvements, and that will cause serious problems.
And that's what we're talking about, right? That's what we're seeing today, where we have a weather disaster basically, and a lot of people's lives are getting hurt by this. And the questions I have immediately is, could we have prevented this? Should we have built a camp in this region to begin with, right? Because if you have people who properly come in and can forecast this kind of stuff and say, wow, it's just really not safe. Or if you say, okay, maybe it's moderately dangerous to build here, at least have warnings in place so we can get people out as quickly as possible. And then when this sort of thing does happen, also be able to have funding in place to help people out. I mean, all these things, remember, Trump's trying to cut the research, this kind of stuff. He's routinely attacking universities. And a lot of it also is they want to privatize this stuff and sort of hand this responsibility off to people like Elon Musk. No, for real, that's just something that we've been talking about before. We've been addressing this issue many times on this channel, so it's not just the only time. That's why I said I want to talk about prevention, not necessarily reaction. Listen to more what the NOAA person has to say, though.
Because as I understand it, if you stop measuring, that doesn't mean you're stop experiencing the effects of climate change-driven weather patterns. You're just not understanding what's going on or what may happen in the future.
Exactly. I'd love to sit here and tell you, Major, that we know everything about how tornadoes form, how hurricanes form, how tsunamis form. But the fact is we need to continue doing research so that we can improve those forecasts. with people dying, 400 people dying from hurricanes in the Southeast last year, are we really prepared to say, yeah, that's okay? We don't need to make any improvements. So when you cut the research, you cut the ability to improve the forecasts and the predictions. And it's not just hurricanes or tornadoes. The climate side of things includes seasonal outlooks of precipitation, which are used obviously by the agricultural community. The insurance and reinsurance industry wants information about, are we going to have a particularly hot summer? You know, it's 98 degrees in Phoenix today. What's it going to be like in July?
And so these kind of things, as you know, he alludes to, and it makes sense, right? This affects all of our lives. You want to have good information on this stuff. You want to be able to understand how storms form and be able to forecast this thing very, very well. Again, the Trump people want to make as many cuts as possible on these things. And essentially, this is all about, hey, can we make tax cuts for billionaires? Can we hand government contracts to Elon Musk? Can we cut the government as much as we possibly can? And frankly, it's sickening when I see this kind of stuff happening, and that's why I wanted to bring this up with you. But it's not just someone, say, in NOAA. I want to give you a more local perspective. So this would be a weather person in Florida. And have a listen to what he has to say talking about tracking storms.
8 o'clock this morning on social media, and there is a lot of anxiety out there because you don't see it turning, right? When is it going to turn? John, it's not turning. It's coming straight to us. It's going to turn, all right? The turn was never forecast to be on Sunday. The turn isn't even on Monday morning. The turn will come Monday afternoon, Monday evening, into Tuesday. Remember that? That was about 6 years ago. That was Hurricane Dorian, as it was absolutely devastating the northwest Bahamas as a Category 5, sat over that region for 2 days. It was headed straight west. Lots of people in Florida were concerned the hurricane was heading here. And as you've grown accustomed to my presentations over my 34 years in South Florida newscasts, confidently, I went on TV and I told you, it's going to turn. You don't need to worry. It is going to turn. And I am here to tell you that I am not sure I can do that this year because of the cuts, the gutting, the sledgehammer attack on science in general, and I could talk about that for a long, long time, and how that is affecting the U.S. Leadership in science over many years, and how we're losing that leadership, and this is a multi-generational impact on science in this country.
And this is usually actually the weather person actually usually the most famous person on the news broadcast because it's actually really important. It's like, hey, what's going on with the weather, right? I need to plan my life around it. What do I need to wear? Where am I going to build? Am I taking a vacation? Is it safe to go to work? Should I stay inside, right? We all know the local weather person in your neck of the woods, right? And he made a real big point about how this attack on science. I'm going to bring up, attack on education that Trump's been conducting. You guys know this stuff we've been talking about, but these are sort of the end results in society where, again, to people like, like a Trump or, NOAA, they'll be like, oh, well, no one could have known. There's no way we could have known, right? I mean, that's essentially what uneducated people say. This is why you want to do research. This is why you want to fund education. This is why you want to fund science. But, from the Trump point of view, Trump budget cuts call for 15% funding cut to education department, or this. Trump is, attacking our universities. Trump's science spending package into imposing 8% tax on Harvard's endowment income, or Trump administration reportedly decides Harvard violated civil rights. Right? They just come with any sort of excuse to attack universities and attack our education. They want to keep the population uneducated. That's what it ends up being. Or we want to, not, the Trump people, not attract the best and the brightest to our nation's institutions and universities. And so this is an example where, the headline, Trump administration tightens social media vetting for foreign students. I mean, if you're a foreign student coming into the USA and you're just like, am I going to get arrested by ICE? Are they going to harass me regarding whatever memes on social media? I mean, this is sort of the environment they're creating. That's why I want to hear different perspectives on this stuff. Listen to the weather person also some more.
All right. But specifically, let's talk about the federal government cuts to the National Weather Service and to NOAA. Did you know that Central and South Florida National Weather Service offices are currently basically 20 to 40% understaffed. From Tampa to Key West, including the Miami office, 20 to 40% understaffed. Now, this type of staffing shortage is having impacts across the nation because there's been a nearly 20% reduction in weather balloon launches that carry those radiosondes. And what we're starting to see is that the quality of the forecasts is becoming degraded.
So I wanted you to get a different perspective on this stuff. Again, I'm all about prevention. I want to do research. I want to understand the world. In the Trump and the Fox News kind of world, they basically want you to, again, stay uninformed, stay uneducated, and always attack science on a routine basis. And it's dangerous to all of us. Do appreciate your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.